Item 14.
Item number 14, Department and Community Reports, non-action items. A, Monthly Budget Report, August 2018. Sales and Use Tax Report, July 2018. Sherry Cassidy, CFO, Financial Services.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the August Board Report. Get to it here. And for the August, for the general fund, we're still seeing the property taxes coming in just a little bit under where we expected. It's about 0.7% down, so it's going to come in pretty close to budget by year end. Sales and use tax, it looks a little bit up. We're seeing a lot of the hail sales tax coming in right now, so I'm estimating we probably have gotten about $500,000 of hail just based on prior year's historical revenues. We think we'll end up about right at budget by year end. Specific ownership tax, as I've talked about before on that one, it is coming in with a shortfall this year because of the mill levies that went to those additional to the school districts. And we're estimating it'll come in at about $623,000 short, so we're budgeting for that. One of the other lines that I wanted to bring to your attention is down on the clerk and recorder fees. This is the revenue amount that was also for July. We haven't posted anything for August. With the new drive system that came online, they were having issues with the reporting side of it. So we're doing some extensive reconciliation with the clerk and recorder's office. We have one of our accountants from finance over there helping them to make sure that we get the right numbers on it and get those numbers reconciled before we post anything. So for the September report, you will see numbers in there. So it's not really down. We think the revenue is probably around $1 million, but we just didn't want to post anything until we had the exact numbers. So then that's where instead of, if you add $1 million to the $784,000 down here, then we're really to the good of about $200,000 on revenue. On the expenditures, it's running, we do have some underspending, but here in these other operating, there's several projects that are encumbered. They just haven't been expended yet. So by year end, we expect most of that to be expended. On the partially restricted funds for Road and Bridge Fund, everything's coming in right at budget, right where we expect it to come in. On the projects, down here we have our Tabor projects and then some of our collateral forfeiture projects. That's about $13.9 million. We've expended around $1.2 million of it, so that leaves $12.8. On the following two slides, we have a list of all of those projects that are in the planning phase or are encumbered, so they're just not showing up on the expenditure side yet. So this is about $12.8 million that this page adds up to also. And then you can see that we've got our Tabor projects up here. For human services, everything is coming in as expected. You see a lot of underspending here, but there's about 70 FTEs that are currently vacant, and that's from some of the new funding from the state, and they are in the process of hiring those now. So we will probably see some underspending for personnel carry through all the way to the end of the year. With that, since this is reimbursements from the state and federal government, we'll see the offset up here in revenues for any under expenditures showing down here, and then our match will just drop into the fund balance, into their fund balance for use in future years. On community investments, you won't see any activity there until we make the November payments. Self-insurance fund, this is the combined sheet. On the risk, workers' compensation, and unemployment, the revenues are coming in as expected. The expenditures are showing just a little bit of overspending, but I expect that to be right on budget by year end. On the health trust benefits, we appropriated that additional $2 million that was in the reserve down here. So we anticipate that this will come in with a little bit of underspending now or right at budget by year end. And we have accounted for all of this then in the 2019 budget to be sure that 2019 budget is is budgeted where it needs to be. And again, that goes back to some of those unusual high claims that we had. We're up to 19 claims that are over the $100,000 mark, where in prior years we were only like at 9 or 10 by this time of the year. So we expect that to drop back off again, that it was just a peak that we hit early in the year and that it should smooth out. For the restricted funds, on the general fund side, so we have the public safety tax. This is the sales and use tax coming on up here, and then it's offset by the expenditures. They've got, you know, some project spending going on, and then also the sales tax, you know, it comes in 2 months behind, just like our other sales tax. So that's why they don't equal, but by year end, they'll probably have expended right at budget. And then some of the other items is on the community services grants, we have a $4 million budget, and then our Tabor Parks grants for $2.3 million. We've spent around $2 million of those two lines, and this next page here, it outlines all of the projects that community services has going on right now. So this is some of their ongoing projects they have, and then they've got some upcoming projects here and then on the next page. And that kind of outlines some of the items that's not expended. They're encumbered or in the planning phase. On the Conservation Trust Fund, everything is right at budget on the Conservation Trust Fund, no concerns on those. Schools Trust Fund, we had the request earlier in the year, so we won't see any expenditure activity through the end of the year, and we'll probably see a little bit more revenue come in. That'll drop into fund balance for the schools to use in future years when they request it. Household hazardous waste, that's coming in at budget. And then our local improvement districts, that's where we're getting additional payments coming in, so there's additional revenue. The treasurer's office then makes the additional expenditures towards that. So we'll wait until after the final payments at year end, and then we'll come back with the cleanup resolution to appropriate these additional revenues we received to offset the funds down here, the expenditures. And any questions on the board report?
Any questions? Okay, no.
Okay, so next is the sales and use tax report for July. And for the historical state collections, we're at 5% above last year, which is running a little bit better. And again, that's where I think about $500,000 of this is from the hail damage that we're starting to see come in. You can kind of see that June and July both were higher than in quite a bit higher than 2017. This is on the automobiles. This report normally would have gone through August, so this is the same July numbers that you saw in the last report, and that's because this is the clerk and recorder numbers, and we just don't have those yet. So you will see the July, or the August and September when I do the next report. The use tax on buildings, that's for regional building collections, and we're running at 36% over budget on that, so that is coming in strong. Again, you know, it's difficult to budget on this one because it's just whenever the permits are pulled. So our budgets are kind of all over the place on this, goes up and down, but overall for the year we're up 36.49%. The combined historical sales and use tax for everything, that's where for the year we're up 6.09%. For the month we were up 11.76%. And then for all components on the budget side, we're running right at the budget. And then this is the combined sales and use tax for the construction plus other items from attachment A, just to see an overall, just for the construction isolated, so it's 4.26% up. And then this is the chart showing where we're running on sales and use tax. Any questions?
Any questions? No?
Okay, thank you.
All right, fantastic.